And welcome back, everyone. We are back here with another podcast. This is the Season 3, Week 4 recap. We had a great slate of games this week. Once again, with my co-host Matt here, E behind the scenes. Matt, how you doing today, brother?
I am fantastic. Finally on the mend now that I have an antibiotic. So yeah, I am good. We had a very uh aptly timed bye week, we'll put it that way, for Baby Blue.
Perfect timing. Yep, coming off a win, too, going into the bye week. Love to see. We had a great slate of games this week. A trade went down last week. We had a game of the week featuring that. Matt will get into that. That was our game of the night. But our first game of the week this week, we had the Gray Beard Goats going up against the White Sneaker Warriors. And Gray absolutely dominated from the start. White only scored 5 points about halfway through the second quarter, close to the lowest scoring game ever, we thought, but they picked it up in the second half. You're not going to win any games at all in the SDL scoring 5 points a quarter. Sorry, White. You guys got to pick up the offense there. Gray was absolutely on fire from number one, Dennis Kelly, player of the week performance, 47, 14, and 5, 34 pie. Most of his shots didn't even hit the rim. If you were watching the game, bucket, bucket, bucket. We got to get a new net now because it's got bricks in it from Dennis shooting the ball. Unbelievable. Great out-rebounded White right there, 58-42. They out-assisted them 22-17. They shot the ball better, 40% to 30. Gary had a great game, 12 and 16 down low. Sean with 8, 15, and 10. Great game there from Mr. Block. Alex led the way for White with 28 and 7. Big J, 14 and 15. But their offense was just in a slumper the entire first half. Trying to think, did I forget anybody this game? No. Wait a second. Oh, one more guy. Give a special shout out to my guy, Rav. Once again, another game. He's like the glue guy over there for Gray. When you're playing behind Dennis, it's easy to get lost in the shuffle. So sometimes, we go through stats very quickly. We also glossed over his Season 2 award, the most improved player. So I want to give a special shout out to my buddy, Rav. Rav for real estate. Great game, great season, almost averaging a triple-double. He's a huge part to the Gray Beard Goats over there and a reason why they are number one in the AP poll right now. But moving on to the second game of the week here.
What was his shooting percentage this week?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, he's a shooting nominee. Thank you, Nohoda, for tapping me on the shoulder there. And Rav, even though we're going to praise you, now we're going to bring you back down a peg. 3 for 17, 18%. That's 14 misses. But he got the W. You're not going to get the Lou, but you're going to be in the mention. Sorry, but thank you, Matt, for that. Moving on to game two. This one was the largest lead of the night. We had the blue-collar ballers versus the red-eye rebounders. Red, once again, could not get their offense going. Blue pulled it out 74-50. Red, low-scoring affair, only 50 points. Blue won the rebound battle 66-45, the assist battle 24-16, and they outshot them 38% to 25. Beat them in every statistical category, up double digits. We had to keep the clock running in Elam because it was 20+. Perry had 26, 10, and 5 on 41% from the field. Vizio gave player of the game to Snyder, who had 17 and 17 and 3. Huge rebounding numbers for a sniper out there. The Wall with a great game, 10 and 17. Bobby, 10 and 8. Rosenberg, 11 and 7. They also had some great tailgate burgers out there. If you were around, they were throwing some food. They were having some beers in the tailgate. They were in the chat watching. That was great to see that out there. Love to see it out of the ballers. The red-eye rebounders couldn't get it going. Escobedo still struggling. 15 and 14, Sissio with 14 and 6, Berman with 13 and 12, and Mean Gene 1 for 10, 10%, 9 misses. You are a Luke candidate this week, Mean Gene with the throw. But yeah, once again, Red right now struggling offensively, can't seem to get it going. Escobedo not doing Escobedo things in Season 3 here. What do you think, Matt? What's your thoughts on this game before we roll to the next one?
Yeah, Red's really interesting. I think they have the talent to be in the upper half of the league, but when they play together, it seems to bring the worst out of each other. Rosie, I think, has been a disappointment this season relative to his expectations. He was a leading field goal percentage guy for Season 1, Season 2, like so good. And for some reason, it doesn't gel with Sissio and Esco's game. Now, that being said, Rosie's one of the smartest guys in the league when it comes to adapting on the fly, learning how to manage these things. Sissio started out so hot with the scoring. I heard reason for Esco's down scoring a little bit. It was he was sick, which I didn't really realize, and he was fighting it a little bit. But 3 straight games under 20 points for him is typically not his norm. So I think he's a little bit of an underachiever, but we'll get into some underachiever stuff in a couple minutes. Moving on, game 3. Look, one of 2 incredible games this week. Again, I was sick, but what was nice was I got to watch every single minute of the games live, and I got to say, Maroon versus Black was incredible to watch. Obviously, Black just pulled it out, 68-66 on just a hero effort from Jose. Jose's usage this season has been off of the charts. Bregman's been out, just in a couple of games. Got Jerry in. Sasson was out from last season. So, Jose's had to pick up the scoring. He had 30, 15, and 5. And he's accounting for like 40% of his team's overall pie, which is insane. But again, back to the game really quick. 68-66 Black on a very controversial timeout call by Maroon. So really, really interesting stuff. To break it down for everybody that missed it in banter, Maroon called a timeout 3 seconds before Elam. They thought they were leading. They were not. They were technically down a point. It didn't really matter because if they they scored. They came out in that 3 seconds. They held the ball. They scored before Elam. They ended up only scoring 8 points in the Elam period and losing. Had that 3-pointer happened after the Elam period, they would end up scoring 11 or 10, and they would have ended up winning because they got to that 66 number. 66 would have been the Elam. They got to that 66 number before the Black team did. The Black team ended up getting to the 66 and ultimately the 68. Crazy, crazy controversial timeout. Scotty Pepper, wild stat line in a loss. 33, 22, and 7. He led, it's not often you can say, a game that included Lon. You were the leading rebounder. Scotty Pepper out-rebounded everybody, 22 overall rebounds. Really weird stat coming from the Black team, too. So overall, only 10 assists from 2 guys. Jose and Bregman both had 5 assists each. Gary, Goodman, Lonadon, goose eggs, not sharing the ball, not passing the ball. All those guys are typically good for at least a couple. So some really, really weird stat lines across the board.
The
Go
thing
ahead, please.
I noticed from Maroon, Scotty Pepper mentioned it in banner today, and it really, set off a light bulb in my head. They don't have the clutch gene right now. I think he said in game-winning shots, they're the 0 for 14 or around that number for the first 3 weeks of the season. So looking at their record, I mean, they're a bucket or two away from being maybe 4-0, but they don't have the clutch gene right now, and it's just not working in their favor in Elam.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy stuff. Black dominated on the board 63-46. So think about that. Maroon had 46 rebounds. Scotty Pepper had 22. There's not a single other person in double digits. There's not a single person close to double digits. Alfred 7. Or sorry, Dansky had 7. And that's it. Everyone else was 5 or less. Really, really wild stuff there. But that was one of 2 games from what I thought were the real games of the week. The other one, Green, number 10 in the AP poll at the time, Green, setting number 2 in the AP poll, number 1 player in the league at this point, and the yellow team 74-72. This is also going to sound crazy. Don't adjust your TVs. Green out rebounded yellow 56-54. The yellow had 54 rebounds, 36 of them from none other than Daniel Fink, 28, 36, and 6. Sean Medeiros shot 30%, 25 points. Go ahead.
Can we talk about Fink's shooting percentage this week? Please just give it to the crew right now. Let's break that down again. He had 28 points this week on what was his shooting percentage?
He shot the ball 19 times too. So this is not, 4 for 4. He shot the ball 19 times and made 74% of them.
When I seen that, I had to double check. I was like, wait a second, 74%?
Yes.
Insane.
15 of 19. Crazy, crazy stuff. Green, from a scoring percentage, a pretty balanced game, to be perfectly honest. Furman, 8 points. Hoseby, 6 points. But Baumer, 29. Sasson, 16. Saka, 15. Saka, 23 boards. No one else in double digits. Kind of crazy. Really interesting game from Saka. Also 8 assists to throw in there, so definitely on triple-double watch. Green shot the ball really well. Sasson in the 40s. Baumer in the 40s. Furman in the 40s. Look, they only had 2, lower end shooters in terms of percentages, was Saka and Hoseby at 21%. But I mean, my goodness, that's a crazy game. I mean, if Saka shoots his normal 35, 36, Green might win this thing running away. So super interesting. Now, Ian was sick, has the same thing I do, strep throat. Plus, he has a flu on top of it. So that obviously affected him a little bit. The big matchup everyone was watching was Lebo versus Hoseby. Hoseby 6-8-0. Lebo 3-3-4. I could just say everybody that watched that was the loser, including the 2 of them. That was not that interesting. I'm gonna look at pie here. I didn't even check those. Lebo with a big 0.0 in pie, and Hoseby with a 0.4 in pie. So no more needs to be said about that. So Joey, real quick, what was your game of the week? Which game did you enjoy? You watched them both live, I believe, right?
Right. Um,
Which game did you like to watch more? Just in terms of like good, interesting basketball.
Right. Obviously, I loved. I think yellow green edges it out barely for me over black maroon. Black maroon. I was on the TikTok stream. We had hundreds, almost 1,000 people in there, and that was an incredible game. But with the storylines going into green yellow, it had a little bit of extra juice. You could feel it in the gym there. People were going back and forth every time Jose touched the ball. If you were watching, Saka was really trying to get Jose to get that game winning bucket there. He missed a couple little shots around the hoop and couldn't get it to go before they finally finished it off there. But the storylines behind that, Fink dominating, Green, one of the shorter teams in the league, going up against obviously the best big, doing four a quadruple team on this guy, saying, "Hey, someone else beat us." And if you see some of the photos, guys, it was hilarious. It looked like preschoolers versus a high schooler in some of those pictures. But great game by Fink. But yeah, that's got to be my game of the week there, which we said going into it. Green, yellow, the storylines lived up to the hype. It came down to the last second buzzer beater there. Get Green their first win. They needed it. You don't want to see anyone drop to 0-4. That's bad in this league.
And they jumped in the AP poll too. Red, like we talked about, underperforming, underachieving. One of only two teams without an A in terms of pie. We'll get to that in a minute. They dropped to 10 in the AP poll, which is really interesting.
Yep.
But speaking of the AP poll, or sorry, speaking of the underachieving in the pie, something just dropped in Banter, Joey. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, but it basically ranked every player. 10 guys or 50 guys in the league, top 10, gives you an A, 11 through 20, I think it is, in terms of pie ranking per game, gives you a B, C, D, F, and so on. If you take a look at this team, maybe your goats, were or would be undefeated if it wasn't for us and the Baby Blue Banter. 2 A's and 3 B's. That's insane. And I don't want to say they're overachieving, but we set up the teams to try to have, an A, B, C, D, and F. The best we can when we set these up at headquarters. 2 A's and 3 B's in terms of pie is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Besides that, where do you see the biggest overachieving? There's only one other team with 2 A's, which I think is really interesting.
Right.
And then there's two teams with no A's. So just kind of walk through a couple underachievers on the season in terms of teams and then players if you're feeling frosty.
Well, yeah, no, I'll do overachievers and underachievers because I'm looking at this immediately now. This is our first reaction to this. So yeah, obviously this is what's going on in the first couple weeks. Obviously, teams with the better record are going to have the better overall, values. But yeah, looking through. So I got our thing here. If you're looking at Gray, they've been playing incredible basketball. They could be 4-0 if Dennis hits that 3-pointer against us. They're a bucket away from 4-0. 2 A's, 3 B's, like you said. Looking at the blue collar ballers, they got Perry balling like an A. Rosenberg as a C is to me that's weird, but his scoring's been a little bit down because they have such a balanced team over there. He doesn't have to burden the load of 30 plus a night, I guess.
Yeah.
Looking at White Sneaker Warriors here, surprising to see Alex as a D. I think that's an underachiever this season because his shot's been off a little bit there. They have Big J as their A still.
Super interesting that White is A B C D F. I mean,
yes,
I think
but
that's
it's
the
just
only
not
one, if
what.
I'm not mistaken, that's like quote unquote perfect
Right.
from a balance standpoint.
Yep. Looking, just going down the list here, guys. I'm going through a few teams. I won't take too long here. There's a few other. Escobedo has a B. He was our season 1 MVP. That's obviously, there's no Bs. That should be MVPs.
And what's interesting is if he plays like an A,
right,
their record, they're probably right in the middle of the pack if he's playing like an A. And then you have your A, B, C, D, F there as well. I think it's a really interesting kind of balance. So that one's super interesting.
right.
And I think we have something similar when you hit blue. Again, Rosenberg should be playing like a B. A D player in there somewhere is probably playing like a C. So blue is actually really balanced as well. Gray right now is the only one in those first four that you named really, really out of whack from a preseason expectation standpoint.
Looking through just like our team, ED as an F. That's because his shot isn't falling. Myself falling down to a C as well. Like just absolutely falling through. So looking at our team, looking at Maroon, it does, on paper right now they don't have an A on their team. It's just D's, B, and a C. Armando moving his rank up, playing like an A player this season. Obviously, so far he's been playing great. Jose, obviously A.
In pie there, Joey. I don't know if you know that. Armando's number 2 overall in pie, which is really interesting.
Yeah,
An incredible season for him so far.
So I played with Armando last season. We had a slow start last season, but by the end, you could see Armando's game really coming together and getting more comfortable on the court out there. So shout out to him. He's been playing great this season. But that's really all of my standouts. I'm just scanning it over real quick. It's weird to see Sasson as a D because from the eye test, it seems like he's been like their main scorers at points this season. Like even the game this week that they won, he was on fire in the first quarter, and without that, they don't win the game. It's only a 2-point game, stuff like that. So Pie is funny, but it's also a good indicator of what's really going on. What about you? What's your standout immediate?
Well, the thing we have to call out is, and this is just overall pie. So you ready for this? Uh, Nick is averaging 32 pie a game. Okay, Armando is second in pie at 20.5. So that means Fink is at 1 is farther away from 2 than 2 is from number 31 overall in pie, Mr. North Korea himself, Adam Bregman at 7.3. So think about that. The gap between 1 and 2 is as big as the gap between 2 and number 31.
He is
And what is
dominating out
Bregman
there,
listed
folks.
as here? Bregman is listed as a D. That's really interesting. So the gap between A plus and A is the same gap between A and D. Just absolutely mind blowing numbers from Fink. Now we know Pi is really heavily weighted to rebounds. They did turn that down a little bit. I believe it was between seasons or at the end of last season. They did turn down the weight, if you would, on Pi ever so slightly. But I mean, my goodness, what a wild stat. Some of the things that jump out. Obviously gray with the two A's and three B's. Purple with the two A's, like you said, you mentioned Armando, no C there, which is really interesting. So their C is whoever that is or was meant to be preseason is playing out of its mind. And they're 3-0. So it kind of holds up. The folks where there's different gaps, way high or way low relative to preseason expectations, are really the teams at the top and the bottom, of the spectrum. So I think it's pretty interesting stuff. Joey, I know we have a preview podcast coming out, so I don't want to step on that. But just really quick, what game are you most excited besides ours and us coming back? But take that out of it. What game are you most excited to see next week? And it might be our game if Baby Blue versus Blue tickles your twine, and I think it might 'cause it's going to be a good game. What matchup on paper, and we don't have the lines yet, which is why we're not jumping right into our preview pod. But what game are you really looking forward to seeing?
And it's a cop out answer, but I really love our game. Why? Because it's hard. I love our rosters. I feel like obviously I've been underachieving. Edie's been underachieving, but that's in the past. So I feel like both rosters are very deep. Obviously, you got 5 guys on each squad, all match up very well. You got competitors and bucket getters on both sides. I think that's the game of the week, in my opinion. We don't want to lose another game. You don't want to drop to 1-4. And I know Blue is obviously ascending right now. They've been on the uptick. So we're feeling confident. It's a good matchup across the board. Rosenberg, Perry, The Wall, Snyder, Bobby versus our team. I don't have to go through the whole roster, but me and Edie looking to bounce back, hoping to have a good week this week. I know you're looking to keep continuing off of your monster game last week where you carried us in the fourth quarter there, got us the W. Lewis has been incredible this season in the first half shooting, like absolutely bucket getter. Reich has been getting heating up as well. He's been slowly improving with his shot this season. So I think blue with the pigment battle this week is the game of the week.
I'll give you an alternative, and we'll end on this. I'm really looking forward to, and I'm going to be on the mic for yellow purple game 2. That is going to be interesting. Purple, no traditional big, right? They've got Armando, they've got D'Lo. Yellow, obviously, he's got Fink, which is going to be really interesting. I'm assuming Ian's going to be healthy by then. I haven't seen any ins or outs, so I'm assuming full squads there. But 3-0 versus technically 2-2 yellow, but could be 4-0. Both of their games were, I think they have a combined loss total of 4 points, if I'm not mistaken, or 5 points. Man, purple yellow could be super, super interesting. But anyway, more on that later when we do the preview pod.
One more thing before we release you guys, we got to go through quickly awards from last week as well before we gloss over that. So, which one do you want? Do you want Player of the Week or Lou?
I'll take player of the week. I think
Okay, so
this
I'll
is
go through. Yep, I'll
yeah.
start with the Lou. We'll end it on a positive note with Nahota here. So for the Lou, we had 3 candidates this week from guys. We had my guy Rav. You were 3 for 17, 18%. That's 14 misses, excuse me, but that was a W. So you are out of contention. Guy number 2, we had Mean Gene. Gene was 1 for 10 from the field. That's 10% with 9 misses in a loss. But our winner, coming back to the league, resurrecting himself. We called this cold pizza because he was 1 for 13, 8%, 12 misses. Welcome back to the league, Mr. Levo. Try to reheat that pizza for next week because you are our Lou winner for week number 4, season 3.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good one. Look, player of the week. I gotta say, there's one standout candidate truly in a dub, but before getting to him, there's only a couple call outs. Look, Jose, huge game, huge usage rates. 30 points again, having to really pick up the scoring on that team this season. So gotta shout out Jose for that. Perry had a pretty monster game himself overall in a blowout win for the blue collar ballers. When somebody sets the or ties second place or overall second place, I forget what it is, in most points scored in an SDL game, they have to take player of the week. And that's none other than the assassin, Dennis Kelly. 7 points. I don't remember the rest of the stat line because it doesn't matter. 47 points in a massive win. Look, he lost to Opoy in season 2. He won it, pretty handedly in season 1. He's like, I got it. Thank you. You got a lot of rebounds, but I'm coming for that oh boy title again. Vasquez, who won it in season 2. Watch out. Dennis is
So
going
yeah, there was also a play during the game. I don't remember if it was either a foul call or a timeout called while Dennis was shooting a 3, and he drained it too. And he mentioned it in the chat, but they called the timeout mid shot, and he drained it. With that, that's 50 points. That's the SDL high. He said in the chat too. He's like, man, if they didn't call that timeout, but yeah, absolutely scorcher from Dennis this week, unconscious from the field.
Yeah, crazy stuff. And he owns the record for 48, by the way. 48 is the record, and he owns it. So shout out Dennis. Really, really good stuff from you. Look, for everybody at home, for my co-host Joey and Edie behind the scenes, thank you very much. We will be back in a 2-parter this time, and we'll be doing the preview pod shortly once the lines come out and we get some ins and outs in terms of head count here and who's healthy and who's not. So we'll talk to everybody soon. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. Have an awesome day and a fantastic weekend.